Hi everyone, welcome to this once again late video for the stock photography and stock footage results of October 2024. November has started off very difficultly with a lot of things that I had to take care of, and once I kind of took care of them, my energy for doing anything else was totally zip. So I've found a day where I don't have any commitments, so I'm committing to making this very late video, so for apologies to my loyal subscribers who have been waiting and wondering. My October was pretty good. A lot of positive things happened, mainly because I put in effort, and a lot of that effort was more uploading of stock photos and footage clips. I've uploaded a lot of clips from my old trips back to Australia, which I never got around to uploading 2 years ago. Somehow life got in the way and I just let those assets fall by the wayside. But I've had a lot of fun just going through mining my hard drive for those photos and video clips that I forgot that I'd taken, and also enjoying just the process of keywording and doing a little bit of research on the different qualities of the photo and what's needed to describe them. I uploaded some photos of my trip to the remote island of Bruny Island in the south of Tasmania, and a lot of photos of beaches and coastal scenes, including wild shellfish growing on the rocks on the seaside, including blue mussels and Pacific oysters. And I even got a video clip of an oyster in the foreground and the waves kind of lapping over the rocks and the oysters. So I'm hoping that those will sell. I also decided to mix it up a bit, and I went to the airport in my area and I took my 400mm EF-L 5.6 aperture fixed prime with no image stabilization. And I took this because I thought it would be interesting to get a group of photos that were unlike any other photos that I'd taken at the airport with my, say, 70-200 and my standard zoom 17-50mm. So what I was concentrating on was getting more tighter shots of coming into land and actually touching down on the runway and then coasting past me, and then going on the other runways that fed towards the airport, and with the towers, I think the radar towers and the air traffic control towers. And because I had a bit more reach, I was able to also photograph planes taking off behind the air traffic control tower for kind of concept shots for travel photos, for customers who wanted a photo of a plane taking off and the air traffic control tower signifying, okay, we're going on holidays or something like that. So that was a lot of fun, and I've uploaded a number of those photos. And the big news for October was I decided to buy this. It's not the camera, I already owned the camera, the 70D, Canon 70D crop sensor. But what this thing is a very old, I think it's like 16 years old, or it was released onto the market 16 years ago, probably longer. And that's the Canon 18-200mm super zoom. I've been craving buying a Canon R8 and the wonderful 24-240mm super zoom, but it's just not a responsible thing to do. At the moment, my stock photography is not earning enough to justify the cost, and I also have a responsibility to my family. So this is a good interim measure, and I bought this as a travel lens. So if I go on a trip, for example, and I don't want to be lugging my standard 17 to 50 millimeter zoom and my 70 to 200 around, because they are quite heavy. So in my backpack I can just put one body and one lens, and that will cover everything from 18 to 200 millimeters. And I've found that style of lens really suits my shooting, also just for doing day trips, say in a city, and I can capture kind of standard wide angle landscape photos or architectural photos, and then I can zoom straight in and pick out details in the environment around me, or for example a detail in a building, or if something happens a bit further away in a millisecond, I can just zoom in and click and I've got the photo. Whereas if I had the 17 to 50 and the 70 to 200, I probably would have missed that opportunity to capture that image. So I've been testing this lens for sharpness, and just to make sure that it's reliable enough to take away and use as my sole lens for a trip, which is important because a lot of expense and time is spent on, say, a trip to Germany or over to the UK, for example. And if I come back with a bunch of images that aren't accepted, then I really am in trouble. So I've been testing this, and to be honest, it's not as sharp as my other Sigma lenses, the 17 to 50 and 70 to 200. But it is sharp enough, I feel. I have uploaded a handful of photos already and they have been accepted. Yeah, so it's doing the job. I'm still testing it to make sure before I jump on a plane or something that it really is good enough for the job. I'll make a video about whether it's good enough for the job in the future, so you'll get a full view of what I think about this super zoom. Oh, by the way, I bought this super zoom from MPB, just on their website, and it cost me, including shipping, about 170 euros, which is a lot cheaper than a 900 euro 24 to 240 millimeter RF lens. MPB are not a sponsor of this video, and I actually contacted them to sponsor my channel, and they said no. Anyway, let's get into photography and footage results for October. With the agency Alamy, I have around 2,500 images, probably about a 60-40, 70-30 split, with the majority of the photos being editorial. I had one sale in October, and that is of a photo I took during my lunch hour in Amsterdam one day. And I went to an outdoor food vendor, and they were selling falafels. And I just brought my camera along with me and took a pic of one of the examples they had on their stall. And that photo, which is a commercial photo, sold for $16.87 gross. Now to Shutterstock, which has been disappointing me increasingly lately. I have 2,700 images and 315 videos. In October I had 32 sales, but no video sales, disappointingly. One of the things in October I did was upload a group of photos of a house spider. And one day I was in the shed and I found this dead house spider, which was quite large. And I remembered back and I thought, oh, one of my images of a house spider has been doing quite well over the years. So I'm going to use this dead arachnid as my model. So to the horror of my family, I was placing this dead spider in all kinds of places in the house, including the kitchen, imitating that the spider was crawling on the counter of my kitchen. And I'm happy to say that those photos have started selling, which is it's great fun just to come up with these silly ideas and think people will buy them. The one in Shutterstock only sold for 10 cents, but since then I've sold more for bigger amounts in the other agencies, I think also including adobestock. I had another commercial sale, and that's a close-up of Dutch fish and chips. I think it's called kibbeling and patat. And that sold for $2.41. And another photo, which is an editorial, is of a very narrow street. And I think the street is quite old and filled with very closely packed together small houses. And that sold for $2.50. And a relatively new photo that I uploaded from my Australia travels is of a modern classic, which is an old Toyota Land Cruiser utility vehicle, or ute, or flatbed truck. And that's taken in an old Australian or old Tasmanian town in the countryside, and that editorial sold for 52 cents. All up for Shutterstock, a disappointing $12.09 for October. adobestock as well was not performing too well for me that month. I've got 1,359 pics and 117 videos. In October I had 28 photo sales and 1 video sale. One highlight was of an editorial photo that I took this year back in May when I was visiting the air-cooled VW outdoor car exhibition. And this photo was of a VW Fastback model, kind of modern classic, and that sold for 92 cents. And fat tyre electric bikes have been featuring in the news a lot in the Netherlands. I'm sure they feature in the news in probably your countries as well. But they're very controversial. Apparently a lot of accidents happen, and there is some antisocial behaviour from the people who ride them, which makes the bikes and their riders not very popular to some people. Anyway, I came across this fat tyre bike with a flat tyre, and I thought, oh, that's kind of ironic because they're meant to be kind of puncture resistant. So I took a photo of it and uploaded it very recently, and that sold for 91 cents as an editorial. Had a bit of a string of sales for date palm and date fruit that are growing on the palm trees while I was in Corfu a few years ago. I think it was just after the you-know-what happened, the pandemic. And I sold 4 of these commercial photos for a total of $2.70. And my one unexpected video sale was of a wild fallow deer that I videoed a few years ago in another October during the rutting season of the fallow deer. And during the rutting season, their throats actually develop in a different way so that their vocalizations are more prominent when they're calling. And when these fallow deer call during the rut, it kind of sounds like a mechanical clatter. It's a pretty strange sound, and if you didn't know what was making the sound, you'd think, is there like road construction work or something going on? Anyway, I videoed this fallow deer around the Amsterdam Dune area, and that sold for a whole $2.80. In total for Adobe Stock, I earned $21.84. And I've noticed the more that I upload, the more success I have with iStock Getty. So my monthly totals are increasing gradually with iStock, and October wasn't an exception. I had 2 video sales and a number of decent photo sales. 2 video sales totaled $19.30 of the usual gannet trapped in plastic. I had a lovely field vole in the forest during autumn amongst autumn leaves. A close-up photo taken with my 400mm lens, and that cute little field vole sold for $1.05. And I sold an editorial photo of a close-up Dutch police emblem on the side of a vehicle, and that sold for $1.13. I sold an editorial photo of a famous hotel in The Hague and probably the Netherlands called Hotel des Indes, in beautiful light, and the vibrant colour of the hotel really kind of glows and pops, and that sold for $1.31. In total for iStock Getty, I made $30.52. And who would have thought it, my most successful agency for October 2024 was Pond 5. I'd kind of written Pond 5 off because of the Shutterstock takeover, thinking that Shutterstock wouldn't be promoting Pond 5 to its customers and advertising it. So the sales would drop off. But interestingly, I've been watching TV, and in the credits as they roll down for Discovery programs or BBC programs, I've noticed that Pond 5 still features in the list of agencies that these TV programs use for stock footage. So I think with Pond 5, it has such a strong and powerful legacy from its past that the customers that were relying on Pond 5 for their stock footage, they've just continued using it. You know, that's probably going to change as other footage agencies promote themselves and make themselves aware, and the old customers start transitioning over. But for the time being, for October at least, Pond 5 came through for me. I had 3 sales and 1 dataset payment. One sale was of a video I took a few years ago during an anti-COVID government measures march, and the marchers were holding up placards, but that sold as an editorial clip for $24.87. And protests seem to be doing quite well for me with video footage for Pond 5. I sold another protest clip, this time of a farmers' protest in the Netherlands when they were protesting against pollution regulations that the government wanted to introduce. And that clip sold for $15.10. And I also sold a data set for $24.13, which, yeah, it's probably training AI using my footage clips, which is good for the short term, but probably not good in the long term, as we all know. The third clip that I sold, I actually sold back in September, but I forgot to tell you guys about it. And that's a clip of $19.41, an editorial clip. And it was taken while I was in Germany, and it's of a table with lots of plates and bits of food left over from a meal. and wasps buzzing around trying to get as much sugar and protein as they can, because it's their breeding season, and I think they have to feed their young with all of this new food. Yeah, so that's an editorial, and sold for $19.41. In total, I made $65 for Pond 5 in October, not counting that $19.41 sale back in September. How much did I earn in total for October? Well, do me a favour and give this video a like and I'll tell you. If you feel that this video is interesting enough to share with your friends and family, then I highly encourage that as well. In total, I made $144 in October from all of my video and photo sales. If I include that sale that I didn't count in September, I've made $163, but you decide which one you think is most relevant to judge how I went. That's how I went. How did you guys do? I feel the more I'm uploading, I am actually seeing results. And I try and upload every other day if I get a chance. I have higher energy levels in the morning, so that's when I do my uploading, or in the weekend. What about you guys? Have you found new enthusiasm for that as well, or are you just keeping a steady momentum going? Anyway, I'll hear all about it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!